Testing, testing, testing.
Playing from Andrew's iPhone. Stop.
Testing, testing, testing. Okay, let me get everything set up here. I hope you guys are having a great evening, even though Bitcoin is kind of taking a dump to the downside. Let's look at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index as well. So let me go over to that. Crypto Fear and Greed Index. And let's get started. Should be a fun stream because there's been a lot of interesting price action recently. So let's talk about what's going on and what I did, and let's go from there. So right now, Crypto Fear and Greed Index coming in at 14. We went down to 11. I've told you for months and probably really years that anytime you're around 10, it's a great time to buy more Bitcoin. That's where we are right now. And to me, it's looking like we could be at a possible bottom around $80,500. I'll show you why. Now, I'm not sure if the actual bottom is in, but I think we're very, very close. I think by the end of this month, we know for sure what's going on. I did say I think we're in a bear market, though. If we close this monthly candle below 105, and we're pretty close. I don't know. Hopefully, you guys can see that I'm live. Not sure what's going on that aspect. Let's go over to Bookmap, and because when I search my name, it says I'm live, so I should be live. So if you look on the weekly time frame, you see we have more liquidity down at 75,000. There's maybe we go down there. I'm looking for a dead cat bounce at least at 95 or 100 at least. And then if you look on the daily, you still have more liquidity, still at 80,000, even though you got very close to touching. You did not take out 80. Remember, on a lot of exchanges, at least the ones I've looked at, $80,500 was the low. And then I did think about longing this. This is the bull flag here. The 15-minute time frame measure move right now is 89,000. 10-minute making a higher low. As long as you can hold 83.3, you're technically still in a uptrend. So let me just go back over to Telegram. And let me just make sure this is working. By the way, if you guys want to join our Telegram group, feel free. The link is in the description below on YouTube and TikTok. But yeah, you can, because I go live Mondays and Saturdays, but obviously I'm going live a day early because tomorrow I'm busy. So if I ever have to change the time, I let you guys know in the Telegram group. So awesome. So anyways, right now Bitcoin to me looks like it could be at a possible bottom. 15-minute time frame trying to make a higher low. 1 hour time frame very overbought. That's not great. That's a lower high. 2 hour time frame lower high. That's not great. 3 hour time frame. Yeah, stock RSI doesn't look super healthy for that move up. 4 hour time frame might put in a lower high, but at some point these higher time frames need to reverse. I did take a long right here when the stock RSI looked like it was curving up. Now even the 12 hour doesn't look great either, but money flow still looks good to me on the 12 hour. Stock RSI, even though it's kind of struggling, still looks okay. Like back here, you kind of struggled on the stock RSI for a little bit. You went up and then you came down, but eventually you did go up, even though it was a lower high. So even if we make a lower high down up to $95,000 for Bitcoin, that's what I would be looking for. My Bitcoin bot is going to sell at that price, and if we break out, your measurement out of this 12-hour time frame falling wedge is 112,000. So we'll see what happens. Let me go down to the smaller time frames, because if the smaller time frames don't want to get us out of this mess to the back to the upside, then obviously we are just going to keep rolling over. So to get out of a dump, you really have to look at the smaller time frames to find the real reversal. And so far, we're trying to reverse. We are trying to reverse. So let's see what's going on. You could put it in some type of parallel channel like this. But at this point, I would even say Bitcoin loses the level of $83,300. We're no longer bullish short term. So this parallel channel might not be doing a lot of good. You might have to draw it manually. But at the end of the day, I see this as a bull flag that could break to the upside, and we'll see what happens. And then your measure move would be from the low to the high, and like I said, your measure move, at least on the 15-minute time frame, is going to be approximately $89,000. So I'm just double checking my work, but $89,000 is my measure move out of this bull flag to the upside. So You could even say it's a symmetrical triangle. It's probably more of a symmetrical triangle than anything. But either way, there's at least a 50%. If it's a symmetrical triangle, there's a 50% chance you get a move back up here. So we'll see what happens, but I am looking for that to happen. Now, I also say after a massive dump or pump, you want to see the 1 minute get above the 200, which is currently coming in at $84,500. So far, that hasn't really happened yet. I'll get rid of the smooth moving average. So far, you were above it. Now you're back below it. So 84.5, you must stay above that level to really be bullish even on the 1 minute. The 2 minutes kind of around that same level, 84.5. When these smaller time frames can get above and stay above the 1 minute 200 for extended periods of time, that's when you can really look for a major bounce on the higher time frames. But it really all does start on the 1 minute time frame. You can even say smaller time frames than that, but I think most people probably start looking at the 1 minute because not everyone has the upgraded trading plan like I do where you can look at the 1 second, but I think the 1 minute's a good place to start. So really, if we don't get back with 84.5, it's not great. And if we lose 83, I think I said, let me go back to the 10 minute. If we lose this higher low here, 83,300, you could even say 83.2. If you lose either of those levels, we'll say 83.2, we're also probably looking for more downside below 80,500. So really, if you want to be bullish tonight, you need to stay above 83,200, and you must really break to the upside 84.5. Those are the two levels I'd watch out for. Thank you for the likes on TikTok. I do appreciate it. That's kind of what I see going on right now for Bitcoin. You must stay above 83.2 and break 84.5. If you guys have requests for altcoins, let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, I did long 85.130. Take profit. My conservative take profit is about 100,000, and I might even consider just selling when my bot gets out at 95 if we get that bounce. If you think about it, after a massive dump like this, I don't think it's that crazy to get a $10,000 bounce back to 95,000. Let me go back to the 4-hour time frame and kind of show you what's going on. So I'm going to get rid of some of these patterns because I feel like it's kind of cluttering the chart. But you hit that measure move out of this massive bear flag. So we were just at $106,000 on the 11th. So 3 weeks ago, we were at $106,000. So if it takes another week to get to 95 to 100, so be it. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if in 7 days from now, we're back at 95,000, my bot's out of the trade. I'd be very happy because right now the bot is down $1,000. And if I win the trade, I think it wins a few hundred. The trade's worth 0.09 Bitcoin right now, so we'll see what happens. But we can kind of start fresh with this chart now. And I kind of show you what I see going on. So let me just zoom in a little bit more. So even though it's a pretty ugly falling wedge, it's not desirable because the trend is obviously to the downside, but it's definitely a higher risk long because the trend is not your friend. And I do say the trend is your friend till the end, but I mean, how much lower can you go? The fear of greed is part of the reason I did long this is because the fear of greed index is so low. So we'll see what happens. I'm open-minded that we could obviously go back to $75,000, and that probably is slightly more likely versus getting a bounce. But at some point, especially with how fearful the market is, at some point we are going to get at least some kind of relief rally. It's just going to happen. So that's the trade I'm in right now. Do you even want to say if there's a falling wedge? We'll see. But yeah, Bookmap also suggests we do go lower. So I might not win this trade. We have a lot of liquidity at 80,000. We have a lot on the weekly time frame at 75 on Bookmap. So there's a very good chance I don't win this trade. If we're going to talk about altcoins and get away from Bitcoin for a little bit, I did take a short, and I've been in the short since 51 cents on AIA. So really kind of basically just above break even. We'll see what happens. Because you're below the 10 at 200, I did take a short. Stop losses, I think 54 cents. I mean, there's nothing to write home about by any means. This is a coin that was at $20 a few weeks ago, so just absolutely crazy. But I really don't think I'm also in this jelly trade. But again, this is very small trade. It's like a very, very small trade. So we'll see what happens. The biggest thing I think is if Bitcoin can get back above $85,000 and can stay above that level, I think if Bitcoin even gets a relief rally to 95,000, then a lot of altcoins can bounce. But until really that happens, until we get some kind of relief rally and confirmation from it on Bitcoin, I don't expect altcoins to do a crazy amount of things. So at the end of the day, I did long Bitcoin hoping for a bounce. But and I did enter that trade on the 12-hour time frame. But at the end of the day, it doesn't look fantastic. It doesn't look horrible. It's starting to look somewhat better, but it doesn't look fantastic. Um, we could definitely go look at XRP. Let me do that. So let's see if we go. Yeah, let's go look at XRP really quickly. I don't know what ghost means, but let's go look at XRP. And again, we're live streaming on YouTube as well. So, XRP. Let me go over to crypto. I also did sell my Tesla stock today, so that's also something we could discuss. But for right now, let's look at XRP. There's not much to discuss on Tesla. It's kind of bearish unless you break back above $400. And right now, it's at 391. Okay, so XRP right now on the 4-hour time frame kind of looks similar to Bitcoin. I will say this falling wedge looks a lot better on Bitcoin on XRP than it does Bitcoin. Bitcoin's falling wedge is barely a falling wedge, to be honest with you, even though I longed it. It doesn't look like a great falling wedge. This is a much better falling wedge. Like, I will be honest with you. It's a stretch to call Bitcoin in a falling wedge right now on the higher time frames. So right now, XRP has a falling wedge with the measured move of 2.41. You're below the 4-hour 200, so just be cautious. The trend's your friend until the end. But obviously, I think Bitcoin's pretty much near a bottom, even if we do go down to 75,000. So if Bitcoin bottoms, then it's very likely XRP bottoms. Daily's oversold on XRP. Money flow's bullish. Weekly is very oversold on XRP, so on the stock RSI. So I would just kind of go down to like the 15-minute time frame on XRP and see what's going on. Right now, you're still making lower highs and lower lows, still below the 15-minute 200. Let me look at the 5-minute, 5 minutes below it as well. So I can go back to the macro support if we continue lower. 1 minute's below the 200 as well. So it's not looking like we're going to reverse anytime soon. And you are sitting on a support at $1.95 right now. If you can't get back above $1.95 and bounce, that's very bearish. And your next support is going to be $1.24 from that major wick. And I usually do see, I would say about 90% of the time, anytime you make a wick, you roll over and fill it. So I got to be honest with you, you are slightly below support at 195. And it's looking like with that wick, it's likely that XRP is going to come down to $1.25 again. So we'll see what happens. XRP to me, even though it's in a falling wedge, not financial advice, but I probably won't be long in this. With that major wick down there, kind of just it makes me think you're going to come down and test $1.26. Actually, I'm going to make an alert. If we go down to $1.26, I want to know. So we'll see what happens. That would be pretty interesting, actually, if we go down to that level. So I'm going to actually make the alert $1.28, just a little higher. But either way, even if we get close to $1.30, $1.25, that'd be pretty interesting. But with that major wick, it kind of just tells me it's very likely that we're going to fill it. So we'll see. XRP looks pretty bad in my opinion. It doesn't look great. So XRP does not look fantastic. I don't know if there's really a point to go through the top 100 cryptocurrencies tonight because the market's so bad. I don't think there's much of a point. I just feel like it's just going to be a waste of time because they probably all look like trash. And we'll see, but there's a few I do want to look at though. Like Atom, okay, that's bearish. Let me go look at Jasmine. Jasmine is very bearish. That falling wedge just did not play out. So it just doesn't look great to me. Tesla, I do want to talk about as well. Tesla lost a 4-hour 200-day moving average. You lost a 6-hour 200-day moving average. That is bearish at 411. You're about to lose the 8-hour. Today is Friday, so I guess we'll have to wait till Monday to find out. But I did sell Tesla around 389. It went down to 382 today. If you lose the 8-hour 200, you could expect the 12-hour. That's right there. I would look for the daily to be the next up at 340. So Tesla to me is pretty bearish, especially if you lose 340. You'd be losing the daily 200. I like to say Bitcoin or any asset is in a bear market if you lose the daily 200-day moving average for 2 weeks or 14 days or more. So that'd be at 340. So if you lose 340 for over 2 weeks on Tesla, right now that's at least 2 or 3 weeks away. But I'm just saying, I'd be watching Tesla to be possibly going into a bearish trend for a while if you lose the daily 200. So we'll see what happens. But it does not look great to me on Tesla right now. And you kind of got double top at 475. So I did get out of Tesla today in profit. I did initially buy it at like 340, but Yeah, it looks bad. Anyways, going back to Bitcoin, I mean, yeah, there's now that's I can't say that's a falling wedge because there's this would be like a falling wedge, right? Because this is how you get the measured move. You take it from the high to the low, and even if it's a lower high, you'd still have some type of falling wedge. On Bitcoin, you don't really have that because you went straight down. So I can't see that's a falling wedge. It really isn't. But I'm trying to see if we can get a bounce here either way. You can at least break the trend line. I mean, I guess you could say that the smaller time frames could be in one, but not really, because you wouldn't get much of a measured move. So I gotta be honest with you. You can say that you're breaking the trend line back to the upside, or at least bouncing, which it looks like you have broken the downtrend at least right now on the 1 hour. But at this point now, do you go sideways and make another bear flag? Because if Bitcoin just goes sideways here, this would be a bear flag, right? So let me delete this. So if we just go sideways here, this would just be a bear flag for Bitcoin. Bitcoin must break back above 85,000 and head towards 90,000. If we don't do that, it's going to be very bearish for Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, this would just be making another bear flag back down to the downside. So if we do not really get some kind of bounce above 85K, maybe even 86K, this is going to be a bear flag down to 74.5. And again, Bookweb has liquidity down there. So it worries me a little bit that could be what we see unless we get. So if we do not head back to $90,000, like in the next 24 hours, I'd be looking for the next leg down to be about 74.5. That's just my, I gotta be transparent. That's not a falling wedge. If anything, it's about to make a bear flag because overall, this is a pretty lackluster bounce so far. Well, I just gotta be honest. It doesn't look great. And the 2-hour time frame, lower high. 3-hour, not so much, not yet. 4-hour, definitely not yet. But I'd be watching the 3 and 4 hour to make lower highs if you don't get back above 86K. So it is what it is. It looks pretty bad to me. I'm still long from 85K. We'll see what happens. I'm still looking for the bounce, but I could be so wrong, and we could just continue to dump here. The 10 minutes about to come into price action as well for the first time since he lost 91K. So that's something to take note of. That's a $6,000 move to the downside, and the low was even more. So, with these moving averages coming into price action is kind of bullish that we could get a move back to the upside. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We could just be continuing lower. So my update for Bitcoin is I'm kind of in the middle. I did take a hopeful long, but it doesn't look great. It doesn't. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it on TikTok. So that's kind of my market update and what's going on. The next time I'll be live will be Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. And I might have to tweak the time or something, but I will be live on Tuesday. And that's kind of what I see going on. I'm not loving what I see on Bitcoin, but I'm not hating it. The 10-minute just made a higher low. So, okay, let me draw this trend line for you on the 10-minute, and I'll leave it at that. And then I'll be done talking about Bitcoin. Right? So, if Bitcoin can hold this trend line, right here, if Bitcoin can hold this trend line, we'll be fine. Right now, this trend line, if I move it down a hair, this trend line says if you hold a level of $84,000, we can continue higher. If you lose 84K, I will say this right now and I'll leave it at this. If Bitcoin loses $84,000 at any point with conviction and stays below it for more than 10 minutes, I would be looking for a move to a new low. It's probably down to 74.5. This is a pretty key support here, upsloping trend line that we must hold. And if you can't do it, well, then I would be looking for more downside on Bitcoin. So 84K must bounce, and if you just kind of roll over, or it's looking bad. So I might move my stop loss up on my current trade to 84K. I think that's a pretty smart idea. And if you lose 84K, there's not much of a point to be in a trade, in my humble opinion. The 6 minutes above the 200, that is interesting. The 5 minutes above the 200, the 4 minutes above the 200, 3 minute barely, 1 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute's getting back above the 200. I really think I've watched this happen a lot. I really have a feeling. I don't trade on feelings, but I have a gut feeling that we are gonna bounce. And I did enter that trade because of that. I entered the long trade on Bitcoin because the 12 hour was oversold and the fear and greed is so low. But I like what I see on this asset, and that's also technically now you're making the same highs while making higher lows. That's in the ascending triangle. So while I still think the 1 hour and 4 hour are very bearish, I told you I think the smaller time frames need to reverse so that the higher time frames can be bullish. If this 10-minute bounces, this is a 10-minute ascending triangle, this is bullish, and your measure move right now would be $90,000. So I have a way for us to get to $90,000. We just have to work on we have to just head there. We have to start bouncing right now, and we can't lose 84K. If we lose 84K, the trade's over, and I'll probably cut my loss. Yeah, we'll see. I see a possible way to get to 90K sometime in the next 12 to 24 hours. My bearish idea is that we lose 84K and then we probably go back to 75K. So those are the two scenarios. I'll leave it at that, and that's just what I see going on tonight. You know, if this then that, if you lose 84K, you're bearish. If you hold 84K, we're bullish to 90K. That's all I got on Bitcoin. That's my update. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Wow, 3,000 likes on TikTok. I do appreciate that. Let me see if we got anyone. Still no one. I don't know why no one watches me on YouTube anymore. It's all good. I just don't know why. And then on this, so I've decided on my Mexi account, I'll be trading altcoins and shitcoins. And then on my Blowfin account, I will just be, for my copy trading account where people can copy trade me, I'm only going to trade Bitcoin. That's what I've decided. So that's my update, guys, for Bitcoin. Thank you for the likes. And so that's kind of all I got. If there's a few requests, I'll do them. Otherwise, with that being said, I'll be back live Tuesday, most likely at 9 p.m. But if I have to change, I'll let you guys know in the Telegram group. I thought I should come live here earlier because tomorrow I'm busy and the market's doing crazy things. So I thought this would be a better day than tomorrow anyway to go live. Because, you know, who knows? Who knows what we'll see on the weekend. But that's my update for tonight. I'm bullish on Bitcoin if you hold 84K. So with that being said, that's kind of all I got. That's my update. And I'm in a very small trade on Jelly to the downside on a short. And I'm in a somewhat larger trade, but still pretty small on AIA to move to the downside on a short. But my biggest trade by far is a 0.09 long on Bitcoin on BitGet and a 0.02 long on Bitcoin on Blowfin. So I have technically over $10,000 in longs at Bitcoin tonight. Nothing. I mean, a lot of people will be like, "Hey, that's nothing," but that is kind of where I stand in that department. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to wrap it up. I told you, as long as we hold 84K, I'm bullish. I see an ascending triangle now for Bitcoin up to $90,000. I'll leave it at that. And I'll be in my Telegram group and trading group tonight. And if you guys are in there, awesome. I'll see you guys then. But otherwise, I'll be back live on Tuesday night. Until then, trade safe. Always use a stop loss. The trends are different until the end. Right now, the smaller time frame trends are about to reverse to the upside, I believe. But technically, the larger and higher time frames are still bearish until you break it back above, I would say, about 105. That's what I see going on. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night. Adios. Trade safe and enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys on Tuesday for our next live stream. Good night. That was a decent stream. That was decent.